the New York Giants 35, the Washington Redskins 33. We'll be back at Yankee.
Well, hello! Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video, and welcome to the Gridiron. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you! If you can maybe give this video a thumbs up, or possibly leave a comment below, or maybe even share this video, it would mean so much to me. But anyway, just thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you! Well, the New York Giants. I'm just keep an eye up on like the New York Giants. Things are going on, but I mean, there's not a boatload that's really going on, which in a way is good. If you want, I mean, sometimes no news is good news. Especially in this like month or so that the Giants have off. So I mean, so instead of like trying to do a video on some things that only take a couple minutes to talk about, whatever, I'm just going to continue my series here and talk about the seasons of the Giants. Now, I started it last year. I started with their first season, doing a 1925 season, and last year, okay, this year I'm 38, this is 37, 36, 35. So last year I did their first 10 seasons. I did from 1925 to 1934. So, and that was pretty much when I did those videos last year, was pretty much around the same time. It was like June and July. So now that there's some downtime, there's not a lot going on, and not a lot really to talk about, I started talking and picking up these videos again. And this is my fourth day in a row. Okay, I started with a 35 season, 36, 37. So today we're going to talk about the 1938 New York Giants. And ladies and gentlemen, 1938 be very, very good to the New York Giants. It was almost a carbon copy of 1937. 1937, the last game of the season, the Redskins and the Giants were 1-2, okay? The final game of the season was at the Polo Grounds. Giants were home. If the Giants won or tied 1937, they won or tied, they would have gone to the championship game. What happens? The Redskins beat them by 35 points, 49-14. So, move ahead a year, right? 1938, the final game of the season. The Redskins and the Giants are 1-2. The final game of the season in the Polo Grounds in New York. Final game of the season. The Giants win or tie, they go to the championship game. What happens? The Giants win by 36 points. The Giants won 36-0, and it sent them into the championship game. Now, the Giants, you can say, they won 36-0. The Redskins had 10 turnovers. The Giants had 1. So the Giants turned those, the Redskins outgained the Giants and all, but I mean, they had 6 interceptions and they lost 4 fumbles. So it's kind of tough to win football games when you have 10 turnovers. Basically, every time they had the ball, they turned the ball over. So, but then it sent them into the championship game in 1938 against the Green Bay Packers, and it was a very exciting game. The Giants won 23-17. Now, this was to be the only time that the Giants would ever beat the Packers in a championship game. I mean, the pre-Super Bowl era. The Giants faced the Packers quite a few times in the championship game, and every time the Packers would wind up winning. But the Giants won this year 23-17 at the Polo Grounds, which gave the Giants their second championship in the championship game era. The championship game started in 1933. All right. Prior to 33, from 1920 when the NFL started to 1932, the team that had the best winning percentage was declared the overall winner, and they won the championship game. So in 1927, the Giants had the best winning percentage. They were declared the winner. But in 1933, they split the league up into 2 divisions. So at the end of the season, whoever had the best record from this division, whoever had the best record from this division, played each other in a championship game. So this would be the 6th NFL championship game. They started in 33. So out of the 6 games, the Giants won 1938. So the Giants were the first team to win 2. 1933, the Bears won. Then the Giants won. Then the Lions won. Then the Packers won. Then the Redskins won. Then the Giants won. So the Giants would become the first team to win 2 NFL championships via the championship game. Unfortunately for the Giants, after 1938, they would go to quite a few more championship games, but it would be quite a while, unfortunately, before they would win their next one. But let's take a deep dive, shall we, into the 1938 season of the New York Giants, which just happened to be the 14th season in the history of the New York Giants. All right, the New York Giants, the 1938 season here. You can see here they finished 8-2-1, right? Yeah, they were first in the NFL East. Unlike the year before, so 1937, they finished second. They finished second to the Redskins. Now, kind of was the same kind of thing. Last year, they played the Redskins 2 times. Had they beaten the Redskins either one of those times, they would have gone to the championship game. They lost both times. This year, they played the Redskins twice. They beat them both times. All right, they beat them in Washington. They beat them 10-7. They held Slinging Sammy Baugh and those Redskins to 7 points, which is really a phenomenal job. They did an outstanding job. Then you got the final game of the season. All right, they beat them 36-0. All right, they let's see, they started off a little slow. All right, they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates, who would become the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, soon enough. Then they lost to the Eagles, and then they lost to the Pirates. All right, so the Giants were actually at one point 1-2, and then they would lose no mas. They would win every other game except they would tie the Brooklyn Dodgers there 7-7. The Dodgers always seem to give them a hard time. Every year, it seemed like the Dodgers would either beat the Giants one game or tie them. So they were both played in the same city and everything, but I mean, the Giants did start off a little slow. It wasn't looking too good right off the bat, all right? Especially they were 1-2, and then they went on the road to play the Redskins and Sammy Baugh in Washington, where they had lost. The Giants lost 2 times to the Redskins in 1937. So the Giants were staring 1-3 right in the face. If they had lost this, they would have been 1-3, and of course they still could have won, but I mean, it would have made it very difficult. 1-3, they'd have to win all the rest of their games. So, but let's take a little crack here. 1938 NFL season here. What do we got? 1938 was the 19th, all right, regular season in the history of the National Football League. The season ended with the New York Giants defeating the Green Bay Packers in the NFL championship game. Now, as the 19th season, it is the 14th for the Giants. The Giants, because Giants started in 25, the NFL started in 1920. That's why the Giants are, missed the first 5 seasons. And we got the NFL Draft. 1938 NFL Draft was held on December 12, 1937 at Chicago's Hotel Sherman. Now, it's been bouncing around. In 36, it was held, 2 years ago, it was held in Philadelphia. The year before this, it was held in New York. Now it was held in Chicago's Hotel Sherman. With the first pick, the Cleveland Rams, because they were the Cleveland Rams the year before were 1-10. They were horrible. Selected fullback Corbett Davis from the Indiana University Bloomington. Oh yeah, that football powerhouse. Absolutely. Major rule changes. A new 15-yard penalty for roughing the passer is enacted. Interesting. All right. If the kickoff goes out of bounds, the receiving team may opt to take possession of the ball at their own 45-yard line. Oh, yeah. The penalty for a second forward pass during a play is changed from 5 yards and a loss of down to just 5 yards. Now we have both good, two decent divisional races, all right? In Week 7, the Bears lost at home to the Rams, 23-21, while the Packers beat the Pirates, the future Steelers, 20-0, giving Green Bay the lead for the first time, all right, in Week 7. Now, you notice they only played 11 games, so, The Packers won their next 3 games to clinch the Western Division. In the Eastern Division, the Redskins led into Week 10 when they lost to the Bears 31-7. The Giants' 28-0 win over the Rams gave New York the division lead on November 13th. The division title still came down to the last day of the regular season, December 4th, when 57,461 turned out at the Polo Grounds in New York to watch the 7-2-1 Giants host the 6-2-2 Redskins. A Washington win would make them 7-2-2 and the Giants 7-3-1 with the Skins as division champs. New York needed only to win or tie. Okay, the Giants tied, they're in. And they did the former. The 5 touchdowns en route to a 36-0 victory. For neutral site games, there's 4 of them. 4 neutral site games. 2 at the Civic Center in Buffalo, New York, 1 in Erie, Pennsylvania, and 1 in Charleston, Virginia. Interesting. And we got the championship game. The Giants defeated the Packers 23-17 at the Polo Grounds. And then it was an all-star game. After being crowned the champion, the Giants faced a team of pro all-stars on an all-star team consisting of mostly NFL players, but also including 3 players from the Los Angeles Bulldogs. Interesting. In an exhibition game at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles on January 15th, 1939. I'm not sure I got it. An exhibition game at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles, California. Wow. 2 Wrigley Fields. Go figure, huh? I never knew that. The game which the Giants won 13-10 was the first of 5 annual NFL All-Star games held under the format, but the only one to include non-NFL players prior to the creation of the Pro Bowl in 1951. So, then you got the championship game here. All right. 1938 NFL championship game was the 6th championship game played in the NFL. It was played on December 11th at the Polo Grounds in New York City with an attendance record crowd for a championship game. 48,120, a record crowd for a title game. The game matched the Giants 8-2-1 champions of the Eastern Division against the Western Division champs, Green Bay Packers 8-3-0. The Giants had won the regular season game with the Packers 15-3 at the Polo Grounds 3 weeks earlier. But Green Bay was without their Hall of Fame wide receiver Don Hutson, okay, at the time. So in going to the title game, there was no clear favorite because now the Packers had Hutson. So it was a toss-up, and it wound up coming down to, it was pretty much played out the way they thought. Very close game. This was the Giants' 4th championship game appearance. They would win 2, and they lost 2. Okay. Their previous victory was the famous Sneakers game in 1934, and they were runners-up in 33. They lost to the Bears in 33. They lost to the Lions in 35. It was the Packers' 2nd trip. They won in 1936. They beat the Redskins in 36. New York also won the 1927 title. The championship was awarded to the team with the best season record. Green Bay won 3 in a row, right? They won 29, 30, and 31. They had the best record 3 straight years. At halftime of this game, Packers head coach Curly Lambeau, this is funny, accidentally made a wrong turn going to the team's locker room and walked out of the Polo Grounds, locking himself out. Hurrying to the front gate, Lambeau tried to get back into the grounds, but the guards at the gate believed Lambeau was a random fan and refused him entry. As Lambeau loudly protested, a couple of sports writers inside heard the commotion and identified Lambeau to the guards. The guards let him back in, but by that time, halftime was nearly over. After trailing by 2 points at halftime, Green Bay took the lead in the 3rd quarter with a short field goal to make it 17-16. But New York responded with a touchdown and held on through a scoreless 4th quarter that went 23-17. With the victory, the Giants became the first team to win 2 NFL championships since the league was split into 2 divisions in 1933. The 2 teams met again, unfortunately, the following season, right, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with the Packers winning 27-0. Yeah, the Packers beat the Giants one time in 1961. They beat them 37-0, and in 1939 they beat them 27-0. So the Packers whooped up on the Giants a couple times. This would be the only time, the pre-Super Bowl era, that the Giants would wind up beating the Green Bay Packers in a championship game. All right, this is the only time, 23-17. Now, this is the news article, okay, of the final game of the season against when the Giants played the Redskins. All right. Giants win Eastern Pro Football title and will meet Packers in playoff here, helping the Giants to beat the Redskins and capture their 4th Eastern crown in 6 years. Now, right here we got a Giants player plunging over the goal line in the first quarter to give the Giants their 2nd touchdown in the Polos. This is when the Giants beat the Redskins 36-0. You got Tuffy Lehman's here on the Giants away on an off-tackle play in the 2nd period. Racing after the ball carrier is Roy Young, number 46, and Bill Young, number 37 of the Washington linemen. Okay. The route of the Redskins. Here we go. We got what a day, right? What a crowd. What a game. The Redskins rooting milled into the Polo Grounds with the red feathers in their hats. The famous martial music, Hail to the Redskins, and thousands of throats uttering wild war whoops in defiance to the Giants and their local supporters. By game time, the Polo Ground stands were bulging. Fans were perched on railings and roosting on beams. The excitement and enthusiasm was intense as any college battle of the season. It was a convincing demonstration of the progress of professional game. Because you got to remember, back then, college football was more popular. Between the halves, the Washington band in the Indiana costume formed an NY as a salute to the Giants rooters, and then a W facing the Redskins rooting section. Though their team was trailing, they blared forth their battle song as loudly as ever. This was a promise that, though they were outclassed in the first half, there was still time to win, and Red Flowery's Redskins would give it the old college try. But it was, The first quarter was a stunner, especially for George Preston Marshall, the owner of the Redskins. The luxurious laundryman who owns the Redskins and who announced in advance that a massacre was imminent with the Giants as the ghastly victims. It began like a massacre, as the magnificent Marshall had predicted, but his casting instructions of the play had been reversed. The fur on Mr. Marshall's raccoon coat fairly bristled with the indignation as he saw that the slaughter was on, but the Polo Grounds' pale faces were on top, and the Redskins were gasping for breath underneath. In 4 minutes, the Giants had a touchdown, and in 12 minutes, they had 2 touchdowns, with the added reward for booting the ball over the bar after each touchdown. Booting the ball over the bar. They not kicking the extra point. They booted the bar over the ball. The ball over the bar. That made it 14 points in 12 minutes, or better than a point a minute. That's the kind of football the old-timers tell about. Then you got, as advertised, Slinging Sammy Baugh began passing as soon as the Giants had kicked off to the Redskins. Slinging Sam, with his trusty arm, moved the ball up into Giants territory, and there he flipped another lovely pass. But this time it was Ward Cuff of the Giants who caught it, and without even a word of thanks to Baugh or a bow to George Preston Marshall in his field box as he went by, carried it to the Washington 43-yard line. Right after the horrified Mr. Marshall saw Hank Soar of the Giants run out to the right with the ball, cut back inside the Redskins, and gallop a zigzag course all the way to the goal line while Giants blockers bowled the Redskins into the mud. The Redskins were offside as Cuff's kick of the extra point went wide, so Ward was allowed another chance. It was foolish of the Redskins to give him a second shot. One he might miss twice, never. So it was 7-0 for the Giants. And it was just a kind of a massacre. The Giants were always scoring points one way or another after Ward Cuff kicked the field goal from the 36-yard line to make the right way to show the Redskins the foolishness of fumbling. The Redskins later thought that they were about to score a touchdown simply because they had the ball down close to the Giants' goal line. But Cuff intercepted a pass on the 4 and waltzed 96 yards for the 3rd Giant touchdown. I mean, see if it shows it here. It showed someplace. Yeah. What do we got? Fumbles. Redskins had 7 fumbles. Okay. They had 3 fumbles in the first half, 4 fumbles in the second half. And they had 6 interceptions. They lost 4 fumbles. And they fumbled 7 times. They lost 4 of them. and the Giants intercepted 6 of their passes. So I mean, that's you're not winning any football games by doing that, right? So that was the Giants, the final game of the season, right? They had to beat the Redskins. Whoever won the game, unless if it was a tie, the Giants would go in. But this is the first touchdown of the game right here, right? Tough to say, but so the Giants prevailed 36-0, which propelled them into the championship game. Okay, so this was the article in the New York Times for Monday, December 5th, 1938. So we go to the article for after the game, after the championship game. All right, this is record playoff throng of 48,120 seats. Giants hold Packers at Polo Grounds. Giants annex title with the 23-17 victory. Danowski fires 2 scoring passes, including winning toss to Soar in third. Bernard nabs the other. Howell and Poole block kicks, which was huge for the Giants in the first. I think it was the first quarter. Set up 9 points for the Giants, which wound up being huge. Wound up being the difference. Hank Soar scores the winning touchdown for the Giants. He took a pass from Ed Danowski and ran 6 yards. So you see, they got the goal line right here, I believe, and he's getting tackled, but he's falling into the end zone. You can see right here. You look at the ref. All right, he's running. This guy back here, he's rooting for him. Ah! The ref back there. All right, then you got Tuffy Lehman's just about to cross the goal line in the first quarter for one of their touchdowns. New York back started from the 6-yard line, racing off tackle for the score. So there he goes, in for a touchdown. And this here is another touchdown, but this is the Packers. Arnold Herbert has just turned it forward, which traveled 49 yards before it was caught by Carl Molyneux on the 1-yard line. The Packer end stepped over for the tally. So that was you had let's see. It was very exciting because even the final few seconds, right? The Giants and the Packers delved into the realm of fiction of storybook football game at the Polo Grounds yesterday. In fact, fiction almost seemed too tame a medium for the thriller that the Eastern and Western champions of the National Football League staged for the world title, to the delirious delight of a record playoff crowd of 48,120. Right to the final seconds of a rousing battle of gridiron titans, the tension was such that something seemed bound to snap. But when the final gun cracked, the New Yorkers had conquered the ponderous Packers from Green Bay 23-17. Perhaps it had been better football game since Rutgers and Princeton started the first game 69 years ago, but no one in a huge crowd would admit it. There was a struggle of such magnificent stature that words seemed such feeble tools for describing it. The Giants, opportunists to the end, blocked 2 punts for a 9-0 advantage. That was huge in the first quarter. As you see down here, the Giants were up 9-0. Huge, absolutely huge. Then they took a 16-7 advantage, only to have the Packers reduce that lead to 16-14 at the half. Then the Mastodons from Wisconsin flashed ahead in the third quarter, 17-16, cut back and then the Giants scored 7 more points for the clincher. The final period was scoreless. The clock showed scant 5 seconds remaining, and still the crowd refused to head for the exits. A touchdown was possible late in the fray as it was. The ball spun through the arc-lighted field in a final desperate attempt for a tally. It missed its target, and the Giants were the new champions, the first team in the history of the playoffs to win twice. At the end, the spectators were too emotionally exhausted even to try to rip down the goalpost. That's weird. That's odd. Usually that's almost a given. There stood untouched, silent sentinels of a magnificent football game. What a frenzied battle this was. This tackling was fierce and the blocking positively vicious. In the last drive, every scrimmage pileup saw a Packer tackler stretched on the ground. Oddly, however, not one of them was really hurt physically, though, although the battering took spirits was too tremendous. As the Giants, they really were hammering to a fare thee well. But I'll tell you what, there was some Johnny Dell Isola was taken to the St. Elizabeth Hospital with a spinal concussion that just missed being a fractured vertebrae. Ward Cuffs has suffered a possible fracture of the sternum. And then you got Mel Hine, kicked in the cheekbone at the end of the second quarter, suffered a concussion of the brain that left him temporarily bereft of his memory. He came back into the final quarter and finished the game. Leland Schaffer sustained a badly sprained ankle. I'll tell you what, I mean, guy gets kicked. I mean, that's not happening nowadays, Kicked in the cheekbone. You're not getting kicked in the cheekbone nowadays. And you get a concussion, you're not coming back in. But, I mean, it just goes to tell you, I mean, and these guys made pretty much just about nothing. And the game winnings from this championship game was probably pretty much about nothing, too. But just guys to show you, the love that these guys had for the game. They played offense, they played defense, and even when they got hurt, they still went back in the game and played. So 1938 for the New York Giants was an absolutely spectacular season, leading to their third NFL title. So you see, 1938 was a really good season for the New York Giants. Now, obviously, you only win championships only so often, and obviously in the history, we're coming up to the 100-year mark for the New York Giants. Started in 1925, and they've only won, they have whatever, however you want to look at it, they've won 8 championships, all right? So 1938 was one of those years that the New York Giants won a championship. So it was a very, very, very special year. The Giants would find themselves in many, many more championship games to come in the upcoming, the next 25 seasons. The Giants would find themselves in many championship games. Unfortunately for them, they would only win one more championship in the pre-Super Bowl era. Anyway, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo!